Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
All right, we are back with the breaking news. You're looking at live pictures coming in from Seoul, South Korea. The president of South Korea, President Yoon, has declared martial law. He claims he is protecting the country from what he calls communist forces. But as our Mike Valerio was describing at the beginning of this broadcast, the president is somewhat controversial and has been dealing with a lot of domestic political undercurrents that have not been going in his direction. We do have Colonel Layton. We're trying to get Mike Valerio back up again. But Colonel Layton, if you're still with me, I do want to show some of these pictures to our viewers. We're continuing to show some of these clashes between some people that you see there, and we've been describing it as military troops. Well, you were just saying a few moments ago, it may just be local police, SWAT team units dressed up in military garb. And the question becomes in the minutes ahead, Colonel Layton, as you were just saying, is whether or not the National Assembly can overturn the president's declaration of martial law. But in the meantime, they're on sort of the dark side of the moon at this point, because really anything could happen, and this is a live situation that is just unfolding right in front of our eyes right now.
Hello, is there anybody in there? Just not if you can hear me. Is there anyone at home? Okay, so why did I open with that? I think it's very instructive. I think this is important. I think that this is something that everybody ought to watch, take notes, literally take notes, write this down, and do these things that I'm about to tell you that were done in South Korea to defeat their version of Donald Trump, also known as President Yoon, who has a 17% approval rating, and he's been elected, he's in office now for a year. He was elected in 2022. Him and his wife is already, his wife Kim, and he have been, scandalous. They have already, been marked by low approval ratings because of their stealing and their scandals and their... and so this is a man who they voted for, and now they're sorry that they did. Okay, here's what happened in South Korea. Now, you can tell me if this sounds at all likely or familiar or something possible that could happen in, another democracy. Okay, so Mr. Yoon became the president. He started to assemble his cabinet. Started to pick some lunatic people, some cray-crays, some really unsuitable people to be defense minister, to be, environmental minister, health minister, a cabinet of fools, a cabinet of crazy. And the Congress, which is made up of the opposition party, which just so that you can have some sort of a sense of how it is, if he's Trump, okay, and that MAGA-ish sort of a dictatory, wannabe, autocratic guy. And he is because he declared martial law this morning. And the opposition party is the assembly. I would say they're the Democrats. And of course they're the Democrats because they've been called the communists. So there you have it, right? Okay, so they have begun to impeach, write this down. They have begun to impeach his lunatic, fringy, cray-cray cabinet picks. Impeach them with their awesome powers of impeachment authority that they have over there in the assembly in South Korea. And also, he decided to, put out his budget, which is nothing but austerity, cutting everything down to nothing, cutting health services, cutting, environmental services, cutting everything, the enforcement of civil liberties, the enforcement of everything that, South Korea has grown to understand is part of their democracy. Now, the last time South Korea went wayward, the last time South Korea got off the democracy path, the last time South Korea had an issue like this was in 1980. And in 1980, there was a military sort of, authoritarian communist party. And ever since then, they've been, democratic, right? So they got rid of that. And anyway, this guy comes from, Korea, South Korea first, kind of a, America first sort of a idea. Well, they want to go back. They want to go back. This guy, like I said, declared martial law this morning. And you know what was so interesting about it is it doesn't seem like anybody in his cabinet, except for the military minister, except for the defense minister, knew about his plan. Didn't seem like anybody in his party or any other cabinet members or anybody else in his circle knew what was coming, what was going to happen, except for the military. And the military knew. You know how I know the military knew? Because when he declared martial law, instantaneously, there were helicopters in the sky. Instantaneously, there were tanks in the street. Instantaneously, there were soldiers. Now, we don't know if it was the military or if it were, like some militias that he has that are loyal to him that were dressed up in military garb. No, we don't know. There'll be time to find out. And you know why I know that? Because the assembly, the Democrats, if you will, if you must, if you may, in South Korea, voted to overturn his writ of martial law. They voted to end it. And he said, I don't care. And then he did care. Do you know why he said he did care? Because others were following what the Democrats in the parliament were saying. They were saying, we're reversing your decree for martial law. Everybody that is with us and against martial law, please come to the streets now. Because, when he declared martial law, what he said was protest is now illegal. There will be no protest. The media is to shut down. There is no media. The tanks are going to be in the street, and that did happen. The tanks were in the street, okay? There is no more political demonstration that is permitted in this country by virtue of my proclamation of martial law. The assembly gathered and said to people, come down to the assembly, show him that there is demonstration, show him there is a political movement against his declaration of martial law, and shut it down and scream and yell and shut it down, okay? And media, come on out here and film this peaceful demonstration, and it was peaceful on the part of the people. Oh, and by the way, also, the largest labor unions in this country, the auto workers unions, essentially, the ones that work at Hyundai and all those great cars that we have here, declare a general strike. Do not go to work. Say you will not go to work. A general strike is in order here until and unless President Yoon follows our vote and rescinds his order for martial law. And guess what? It worked. Ta-da! It worked. So there is something so illustrative, if you must, if you may. There's something so informative. There's something so doable, if you just make notes, about what would have to happen here to end a declaration of martial law by an orange Jesus type figure, if that should occur. And it gets to the point where there is no media. Newspapers will not print. There will be no protest. No protests will be allowed. The military is now on the street. And I'll tell you something. The idea that that President Yoon in South Korea didn't tell his own party, didn't give anybody a heads up, big mistake, big, huge. Because even though the assembly there, which we don't have here, is a majority of opposition to President Yoon, the people of President Yoon's party, they're called the People Power Party. Yes, the People Power Party declared martial law on the people to take away their power. Oh, it's just so beautiful. It's exactly what's going to happen here. But the people in the People Power Party actually revolted against Yoon, too, because he didn't tell them. And they're like, oh, no.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
nothing in the circumstances around the country warranted this. So it was shocking, to put it mildly, but then was relieved to see the National Assembly acting very quickly to pass a resolution overturning this. And so the only step remaining in this process is for the president to accept and acknowledge that the declaration that he made on martial law is now null and void. But the presidential office, I understand, is currently very quiet. Citizens have gathered around the National Assembly to protest and to make their point that this is completely unacceptable, the way it's been handled, the way it's been announced. So we'll see, we'll get a better sense in the morning hours, but I think currently all sides, including some key figures in the ruling party, clearly pressing the point that this is completely unacceptable.
Okay, so she is the president of the Asia Society, and she's sitting in an office that is literally, the view she has is of my old apartment. As my block. The Asia Society. Yeah, so anyway, Kung-Wa Kung is her name, and she's like, almost laughing. Is South Korea going to be more democratic than the United States of America in the end? Is South Korea going to have to lead the way for us to understand the steps we must take in order to beat back martial law in this here country, or mass deportations, or the deployment of the military on our streets? I mean, in this weird way, yes, because now you can see what the steps are that are needed to stop the coup, to stop the military from taking democracy literally out of your hands and giving it to somebody else who doesn't believe in it anymore and doesn't want it anymore and wants to coup us all and make himself the king or an autocrat or the czar or whatever you want to call him. Really. And it's just so it was so interesting to see how quickly now. What they had that we may not have here is the ability for their Congress, I'll call them, it's an assembly, but in New York, the parliament or the Congress is called an assembly too. So in some of your states, you might be familiar with California Assembly, but their federal government is called an assembly. But anyway, I'll just call it Congress. So what their Congress has, that I'm not sure our Congress has, is the ability to veto a presidential decree of martial law. And so now I take your attention to a couple days ago, I swear to God, before this all happened. This is how the Democrats who are in the Senate are trying to Trump-proof our country. Now, we can go through what Governor Newsom is doing in California to Trump-proof California, because a lot of our listeners are out west in California especially. And he's taking steps, Gavin Newsom is, to Trump-proof your state to protect everything from, reproductive rights to the EPA, rules and grants that are currently being bestowed upon people who buy EVs by virtue of Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which had the biggest investment in climate change. So maybe you bought an EV in California recently and you got the $7,500 credit. That's a federal credit. And so he's trying to build up a trove of money where people can still buy EVs and still get the credit, but now it'll come out of the state instead of he's doing everything. But let's look at the federal government first, okay? So on December 1st, the United States Senate actually sat down, put their heads to, down and picked up a pen or a typewriter or a keyboard and wrote to President Biden and to the Secretary of Defense, General Lloyd Austin. Now, it's awesome, like when you look at General Lloyd Austin and his, combat experience and his commanding experience as a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star out in the field, and then, of course, you say Trump's pick is Hedgeseth. Sure, of course. It really, it inspires so much, respect, doesn't it? Hedgeseth, the alcoholic, sex pest. Yeah, as compared to General Lloyd Austin, who was a 1-star and commanding troops in Afghanistan, a 2-star commanding troops in Iraq, a 3-star and a 4-star, and now is our Secretary of Defense. I mean, it's the same, right? It's the same caliber of person, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Warren and Blumenthal, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Blumenthal, have written a letter to President Biden and to Secretary Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, asking Biden to issue a policy directive. And this was days ago. This was way before we had this, example to follow, saying that they need a directive that prohibits the mobilization of the United States military, active duty military, or a federalization of the National Guard, states' National Guards, coming under federalization, meaning now the president is the commander of the state, National Guards, or state militias, because that's what they are, and that they cannot be deployed against fellow Americans unless, and they do give a caveat here, and I'm not so sure I would, but they do. They say that if states' militias or states' National Guards are overwhelmed, if state or local authorities are so overwhelmed. See, and this is like, what does overwhelm mean? And it could be litigated. This is why I'm not so into, but this is what they gave to him. When state or local authorities are so overwhelmed and that the chief executive of the state, the governor, requests assistance or attacks against the U.S. government overwhelm state or local authorities, then you could have a narrow application of the Insurrection Act, and it has to be limited to those instances and cannot violate the writ of habeas corpus, meaning due process. We all need to be arraigned if we're going to be arrested. Can't violate federal law and can't violate state law and can't violate our civil liberties. I mean, I wouldn't even give that. I would just say Congress has the authority to overturn any declarations of martial law. I just would. You need some checks and balances when you have crazy people heading up the Department of Defense and you have crazy people being the president of the United States, which we're about to have. We have 7 weeks. 7 weeks from yesterday, I think. And it's a whole new thing. It's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new experience, right? So, I mean, we need a policy directive, and we need the ability for Congress to vote. Now, here's a hopeful little fact, okay? When the new Congress convenes, it's going to have, because Trump's an idiot, and he's been pulling people out of the House of Representatives of his own party, like Elise Stefanik, who he calls Elise Stepanak. I mean, he doesn't even know her name, okay? But he's been pulling people out. Matt Gaetz, he's gone now. Woohoo! But there's a 1-seat majority in the House. A 1 seat. So, yeah, they'll get the committees, but there's a 1-seat majority in the House. There's a 3-seat majority in the Senate. Three. And there's reliable Republicans who will not, I don't think, allow the military to be deployed.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody, just because the election is over does not mean our work is done. It is so far from done that I can't even explain to you how much we have to write down and have in our back pocket information, coin of the realm, everybody, so that we can beat back any sort of infringement on, American life, on American civil liberties, on habeas corpus, on not having military in our streets, the power to go and declare a general strike. These are the things that, we have left. And also, just remember, there's only a 1-seat majority in the House of Representatives and a 3-seat majority in the Senate. This was not it's not what he was saying was his, mandate for change. Right? There was no mandate here, okay? It was just like, less than, again, like 1/10 of what I say, 10,000 people in, Wisconsin and Michigan. And, so listen. Here's the thing. We're here. We're going to be here throughout this thing. This is Free Speech TV, and we are going to instruct and help every single body navigate through what could be, trying. Could be a trying time. So support it. with your money, like now. Call 877-378-8669 and give. Or visit us at freespeech.org and do it that way. You can also text to 44321. The letters FSTV for Free Speech TV, and we'll send you a secure link. You can make your donation that way. We thank you very, very much. But don't forget to pitch in now. Okay. Jim in Michigan.
Hi there.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
I think the Democratic Party went so far left that the American people didn't like it with all the stuff that went on inflation. The people felt it, but somehow the Democratic Party didn't feel it. And I think it's like, you ever see it? Your gas gauge in your car when it's on empty, and you put it up to half, where it's moderate. I think the Democratic Party's got to come back to a moderate party. You there?
I'm listening. I don't agree
Yeah,
with you, but I'm
moderate
listening.
party, like Joe Manchin was.
Like Joe Manchin was.
Joe Manchin was a moderate, though. He was. He could play both sides. You know, instead of the far left socialists.
So you want someone who
the progressives are so far left.
Mm-hmm.
They're socialists. They don't believe in the party where it can be to make it more moderate.
Well, give me an example.
Kennedy.
Give me an example
Like
of what you're
John
talking
Kennedy. John Kennedy was a moderate.
No, give me an example. Give me an example. John Kennedy was a moderate. He was for the Civil Rights Act, which was the most progressive change in American life that we'd ever been through as a culture.
No.
Yes.
I know
It was
that.
the end. It was the end of Jim Crow, which had gone on for 100 years. That's pretty radical.
Well, actually, if you want to go back to the Republican Party where it started, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves.
No. You said Kennedy, and I'm now answering
Kennedy.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay.
No, but what I'm saying is the party has went so far left.
So I'm asking for an example. What is a policy that you think is so far left that massive numbers of people rejected it?
I think it's just the way all the inflation and all that stuff. People are feeling hurt.
But you understand that inflation.
Interest rates went up.
Yeah.
What
so
caused
inflation? When I get quiet, you ask if I'm here, and then when I want to have a conversation with you, you want to talk over me.
Okay, I'll tell you what caused inflation. When Biden shut down our oil industry and gas went to $5.30 a gallon.
Okay, that did not happen.
Yes. What do you mean? I've seen it at the gas stations. He shut her down. Says we're going to
Biden did not. We have more oil production in our country than ever before.
Go look at what he said.
Ever before.
Listen. No, you're not looking. Go listen to his inaugural.
I'm not looking. What are you talking about? How much is gas today?
Yeah, it's still not cheap as it's
How much is gas today where you are? How much is
it? 307.
307. Okay. What did Biden change?
I just told you.
Since
if you go back to when Biden took office in his inaugural address, he says we're going to shut down the fossil fuel industry. We're going to go to clean energy, clean Green New Deal.
He did not.
Yes, he did.
He didn't do that. I'm saying he did not do that. What he did do was he passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which gives money to people who buy electric vehicles, which gives money to people to give. Listen, I don't want to hang up on you, but you just refuse to have a conversation. I'm sitting here listening, and then you ask me where I am because I don't say anything to you. And then I do say something to you, and you talk over me. So what am I supposed to do with you?
All
right. Biden did not shut down the oil and gas industry. Gas was high because we opened up our economy after COVID. COVID, no one was flying. COVID, no one was traveling. And the oil and gas companies gouged the hell out of you. Supply chains were broken on top of it, meaning transportation wasn't happening. Refineries weren't refining. Things weren't getting where they needed to go. Okay? And gas went through the ceiling. Biden did not shut down the oil and gas industry, period. And he didn't open it up since he shut it down because he never shut it down, so nothing changed. The price came down because of supply and demand, The price came down because people started to buy electric vehicles. They like the $7,500 federal tax rebate for buying EVs. They sold almost, 750,000 electric vehicles just in California. What's wrong with you? Dude. And by the way, you're the radical party now, okay? Your party is so out of control with militias and martial law and letting violent people out of jail, emptying the prisons. The law and order people don't want law and order. You want Kash Patel, who says on day one he's going to shut down the FBI. He's going to shut the building down, and he's going to declare it a museum to the deep state. You people are lunatics. And there is no mandate for lunacy in this country. You want to know what the final numbers are? Donald Trump got 49% of the vote. 49. That is not a majority, okay? Kamala Harris got 48.3. Do you see how close that election was? So you sitting back there and saying that there's some sort of a mandate that was, sent, some sort of a message that was sent about the progressives are too. You're making stuff up. You're fooling yourself. We're sitting here trying to Trump-proof our democracy so he can't put tanks in the street, so he can't shoot protesters like he wanted to last time. But we had a Secretary of Defense who said, "I'm sorry, sir, you cannot shoot protesters." And he said, "Not even in the leg?" No, not even in the leg. You're the radicals. You're the crazy ones. And I will tell you what happened in this election. People like you believed that Biden had done something bad to make prices go up. And the dirty little truth is that was corporate America, the people Trump is in bed with, the people that he would like to see get more conglomeration, more ownership of our goods and services.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
If you're looking for a break from inflation, you may not have to search any farther than the gas pump, where millions of Americans are now paying $3 or less a gallon. Here's Tom Costello.
From the Lone Star State to highways across the country, finally some inflation relief at the gas pump.
A lot better than last year.
It's all about supply and demand. Demand usually falls during colder months when people stay home. And right now, there's plenty of supply, with the U.S. making up 80% of the global increase.
The U.S. retains the crown of the world's largest oil producer. Oil production in the U.S. is back at record-setting levels.
On the global market, oil is now selling for $77 a barrel, down from $123 in June of last year. At the pump, gas has dropped to $3.22 a gallon nationally, 28 cents cheaper than last year. 16 states are now paying $3 or less. 25,000 gas stations at $2.75 or less. Though higher taxes means gas can be $2 more expensive out west.
Yeah, you know how old that report is? That's pretty old. That's older than the crack in that caller's ass, okay? That report is from 2023. That report is last winter, okay? Last winter. And why? Because the supply chains that were broken during COVID had been restored to their normal capacity, and because Joe Biden increased drilling and fracking and all the different things that this country uses to power itself, including renewables, including solar and wind and hydro and every other thing that we could throw at it, we threw at it. And 80% of the world's oil and gas production under Joe Biden, the United States. USA. Yeah, freak. Stop repeating lies. Stop believing them. How could you look at your gas pump and see it's been about $3, $3.07 for you, okay, for more than a year, and blame Joe Biden as if Joe Biden did something. He didn't do anything. It's the oil and gas companies. They did something, okay? We are producing at record levels. We produce more oil and gas than any other country on the planet. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with them? Why do they want to believe the worst about America? Why? Why do they want to believe everything about America that Donald Trump says is bad about America? This guy trash talks my country, your country, and you allow it and you repeat it. That's gross. Sorry. There's no other word for that. It's just gross. I don't know. I mean, I tried to listen. And it was, are you there? Yeah. Now you ready to hear me about Robert F. Kennedy? He was very radical. Very. And LBJ, holy crap. Really radical, dude. Really radical. Like overturning 100 years of persecution, 100 years of treating people as subhumans, treating people as if they were well, what Donald Trump calls people now, vermin. Vermin. Your guy calls people animals. Your guy calls people vermin. Your guy says he's your retribution. Your guy calls the media the enemy of the people. Your guy literally took away a woman's right to choose. Your party makes it so hard for people to vote. And you think there's something on the other side that's more radical than any of those? There is nothing. There is nothing. We are sort of garden variety, democracy loving people. There is nothing radical about Elizabeth Warren, but there is something radical about having to write to the president now and saying, we only have 7 weeks left. You really have to give Congress the ability to not allow him to deploy the military against his own citizens. That's freaking radical. I'm just going to read you the first line of it. We write to urge you to issue a policy directive that prohibits the mobilization of active duty military or federalizing the National Guard personnel to be deployed against their fellow Americans unless specifically authorized. I mean, these are two senior Democratic senators writing to the President of the United States going, please do not let us go there. Please, we have to figure it out. We have to, listen, if I were Biden right now, do you know what I'd be doing? I wouldn't just pardon my son, because you cannot have Hunter Biden, who your side has made into the boogeyman. And really, what was he convicted of? He was convicted of probably something you did. Something you did, Mr. Michigan. You ever smoke a joint? Did you? Ever? And then did you go buy a gun for hunting or for whatever you do? I don't know. You probably shoot fish up there. I have no idea. Okay? Did you check the box that says that you've never been under the influence or you're not under the influence and you probably filled it? Then that's a felony. That's what he was convicted of. No one gets convicted of the form violation except for Hunter Biden. It's the one gun law in this country, and it was wielded with malice against Hunter Biden. Truly. As far as his taxes, just so you know, he paid his taxes a long-ass time ago. He paid his taxes over 5 years ago, and he paid them with penalties, and he paid them with interest. Who goes to jail? That's something Optima Tax Relief deals with. People that didn't pay their taxes for, a couple years and then want to settle with the IRS. Optima Tax Relief, you can call somebody and they will do it. He paid the whole thing. He didn't even negotiate what he owed. He paid what he owed. He paid the penalties, and he paid the tax, the fines. These are the two things that person was convicted of. I shouldn't call him. He's a grown-ass man. These are the things he was convicted of. Biden wouldn't pardon Hunter Biden if Kamala Harris would have prevailed by, the 0.5% that she lost by. He would never have pardoned him. Whatever sentencing he got, he would have done. But you cannot possibly believe that Hunter Biden would be safe in a federal prison under the control of Donald Trump. You can't possibly believe that Hunter Biden would ever leave that prison alive. And that's the sad reality that Biden had to deal with. But if Kamala won, believe me, he would not have pardoned him. But now there's a lot of people that need to be pardoned, a lot, preemptively. And granted, a lot of them probably wouldn't even accept the pardon. But he needs to pardon people like Liz Cheney. He does. He needs to pardon Adam Schiff. He needs to pardon Cassidy Hutchinson. Remember her? Cassidy Hutchinson, who worked in the West Wing in the White House, who testified to the January 6th Select Committee that Donald Trump sat there and did nothing and was watching it on TV and was throwing ketchup at the walls? Do you remember that? She's in danger, and she was the most MAGA person you could get. She was serving in the White House down the hall from Trump and could not believe he was allowing our Capitol to be attacked and did nothing. It freaked her out. It upset her beyond belief because she always thought she was a Republican and a MAGA person because it was USA, USA, USA. Come to find out, no, it was Trump, 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 Trump. She needs a pardon. General Milley needs a pardon. Donald Trump has said, you want to hear radical? Donald Trump has said that General Mark Milley needs to be tried and killed for treason. These people need pardons, okay? And also another thing, I work in a very heavily immigrant neighborhood, okay? And I'm proud. I'm proud of where I work, and I'm proud of the people I work with, and I'm proud of the neighborhood that I shop in and that I rent from and every other thing. You know how terrified the people in this particular part of the world are? Do you have any idea? So they're here legally. It's a lot of people here. They're Haitian, right? And a lot of people here are here under temporary protected status, TPS. Okay, they are terrified. They are so scared because they know that even though they've made a life here, most of them are homeowners. Most of them are, driver's license. They know that he's going to reverse the temporary protected status after the Springfield, debacle, where he said that Haitians were eating their pets. They were eating the ducks. They were eating the dogs. They were eating the cats and all the other things that were there. He's going to revoke temporary protected status, and it's going to hollow out this neighborhood of very hardworking, church-going, mortgage-paying, rent-paying people who are raising their families here that, I swear to God, the rules around going to school and doing your homework and showing up clean every single day in a pressed shirt, you should only hope that the rest of America would be this way. And they are so scared in this neighborhood that the military is going to come. And you know what they said today? You know what they're going to use? AI, artificial intelligence. They're going to use robo-dogs. Robo-dogs to sniff people out. Holy crap.
Mary had a little ram.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change
Trump
has come
seems
to
genuine.
America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Trump seems genuinely confused about what tariffs are and who pays them.
We're taking in billions and billions of dollars in tariffs that China is paying for.
Oh,
nope.
God.
Tariffs are not paid by the other country. They're paid by the American importer, with the cost typically passed on to American consumers.
Oh.
As even Fox Business pundits have to admit.
Remember, tariff is a tax. Tariff is a sales tax.
Now, targeted tariffs on specific products can give American-made goods an edge over imports. But there's no strategy behind the tidal wave of tariffs Trump is proposing. He's talking about making you pay 60% or more tax on everything imported from China, a 10% tax on everything imported from anywhere else. This would cost the average family an estimated $2,500 extra per year. And this is a regressive tax, taking a higher percentage of the paychecks of the working class and the poor than out of the incomes of the wealthy.
Gee, I wonder how Michigan's going to feel about that. His $3.07 gasoline is going to have, competition. The egg.
It's Jim. Listen up, Jim. I hope you're paying
Jim.
attention. Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, do you think these tariffs are not inflationary, Jim? Do you think that, Donald Trump's plan, even on paper, is going to save you money or cost you money? Save or cost? Uh-huh. So I really don't understand what you voted for then. Were you voting for, something less radical than this? Because let me tell you what Trump's plan is. It's to put the billionaires in charge of everything at your expense.
You know, corporate consolidation is one of the biggest drivers of inflation. When there are fewer competitors, corporations can raise prices without worrying about losing customers. Trump and the MAGA team want to make this worse. Project 2025 specifically seeks to fast-track airline mergers.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
And as part of Trump's efforts to solicit campaign donations from big oil executives, he's suggesting fast-tracking oil mergers. This would let them pump up your gas prices. And speaking of gas prices, let's talk about number 3, Trump's energy price hikes. Trump's promising to kill the Biden-Harris administration's clean energy incentives and fuel efficiency standards. Now, this means you'll be spending more on fuel because your car will need more gas and your appliances will use more electricity.
No refunds.
Number 4, Trump would make your money worthless. I'm sorry, worth less. The American economy is strong right now compared to other nations, so the American dollar is worth more versus the euro, the yen, or other major currencies. At a moment when Americans are worried about how far their dollar goes, most American people would call that a good thing. But Trump and his economic advisors are reportedly so obsessed with trade deficits that they're looking for ways to devalue the dollar. This might help big corporations that export products, but it would also raise import prices and overheat a U.S. economy already running hot.
Oh, yeah. So, Jim, who's got the better plan for your pocketbook? Who did? Who does? Okay, so there you have it. And the idea that, he wants mergers. He wants one oil company. He wants one media company. He wants one social media company, he wants to devalue the dollar. Why? Why would he really want to devalue the dollar? I have a theory on it, and I'm no Robert Reich, but I have a theory on it, and here's my theory. Crypto. Yeah, he wants crypto to become the reserve currency of the world. Something he said was a scam. Now he owns a crypto trading platform of his own. I think he calls it like Liberty Bitcoin or some crazy thing. It's so, everything this man says is a lie, everything. Remember when he said he didn't know anything about Project 2025? Do you know how many people Russ Voigt, the author, the primary author at the Heritage Foundation of Project 2025, is now the director of the Office of Management and Budget, okay? It's just, the lying is endless, and you keep falling for it. And now we're all going to have to go through some things. So you're going to get on the ground right now, Jim, hit your knees, and thank God for me. Yes, say it. Say it! Thank God for that girl right there. Thank God for Randi. Thank God for her. Because I did not know that the billionaires have taken over our democracy, and now it ain't that anymore. Now it's an oligarchy, or if you really want to look at some of these nominees, like the Kash Patels and the Tulsi Gabbards and the drunk Pete Hegseths and the Matt Gaetz, who had to withdraw because he got caught at too many freaking orgies paying by Venmo. It's just like, oh my God. So that would be a kakistocracy. I hate these words. They're elitist words, but there's no other word for picking the absolute worst citizens to head up important agencies. It is the word. Kakistocracy is the word for what Donald Trump is doing. And Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't. He has no idea what he's doing. Everything he does. And I mean, listen, if he would have taken the inheritance his father left him, and just invested it in a ordinary mutual fund that, plays the S&P 500 or invests in the, Dow Industrial 30 stocks, he would have been richer than he is today. Dumbass. Truly. And on top of all of this, hey, let's deport all the people that work in construction. Let's deport all the people that work in food. Let's deport all the people that cut our meat. Let's deport all the people that pick our vegetables. Let's do
Trump
that.
would decimate the American workforce, and he's bragging about it.
We'll carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Putting aside the horrific moral consequences, this would make the whole economy collapse. There are more than 1 million undocumented laborers in construction, over 1 million undocumented farm workers, and about 1 million undocumented food service workers. What do you think will happen to the price of food and housing if these workers are suddenly deported? Prices will explode.
Oh my God, what a great plan.
That was a little dramatic.
It won't be when you're paying like that. It won't be when there's no fresh fruit. It won't be when there's no avocados. It won't be when there's, a 60% tariff on every freaking item of clothing in your closet right now. Go check it and see where it was made. Yeah, 60% tariff. You know what he's doing to understand why this is happening? Because it's really pretty simple. The tariff system is an entree into giving him vig. Okay, he's going to make tariffs corrupt again. This is what he's going to do. The tariffs, okay, the people who don't want to have their companies pay the import tax, they are going to lobby and pay for waivers so that they're waived out of the tariff scheme. So their customers won't have to pay extra, okay? Because they'll be waived out of the tariff. So you'll have some stuff imported by some importers from China that have lobbied and paid Sir Trump to be waived out of it, and others that won't. And you won't be able to afford their $5 shoes anymore. Do you know, like maybe it would be too obvious, like if Nike got a waiver. I don't know. Maybe they could. I don't know how dirty their lobbyists are. I really don't know. I don't know how much money they have. I don't know. Maybe we should check in with Michael Avenatti. He would know all about that, wouldn't he? Yeah. So this is the whole thing, is pay me. F you, pay me. Oh, you're being tariffed? F you, pay me. It's all about getting paid. The other part of it is billionaires. They don't care. They won't feel it. And they're going to be in charge of everyone.
At RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
I know global trade is not something that is seen as sexy, and Peter and I were just lamenting this before.
It's sexy to you guys.
It's sexy to us.
It's back. Yeah.
But it's bad for growth, right? If the global economy, through tariffs, begins to slow down, that means growth in the U.S. slows down, which means jobs slow down. People start getting laid off. Their wages come down. It is going to have knock-on effects. And, Harris tried to explain this during the campaign, rather ineffectually, I would argue. And we're in for, and you've started to see this now in the financial markets, right? Particularly, we talked before in the bond market. U.S. Treasuries, which is basically investors believing whether the U.S. government can pay its debt or not. You've seen, prices go down, yields go up, right? They are losing confidence.
Big investors saying we are worried about what's going to happen here.
It's already happening. Just through the rhetoric, through the tweets, through everything like that, you've seen the market react. Wait till these actually become policy.
Okay. Yes, wait until they actually happen. Wait until the tariffs actually go into place. Wait until he decrees on day one that the military is now deployed in the cities and the mass deportations have begun. And by the way, now the tariffs are in effect. 60% on everything coming in from China, and 10% and 25% from this, and 20% over there. And oh my God, just wait. You're going to see the whole thing is going to blow apart. The entire good economy that Joe Biden is handing off to Donald Trump will blow apart. And, it'll take a little, a couple quarters. And so the first quarter, okay, the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, he's going to declare victory on Joe Biden's hard work. He's going to take credit for a great economy that Joe Biden is handing him, and then slowly it's going to implode. Just like with COVID. He said it was a hoax and it would go away and all this. And then when you look at all the charts and you look at everything that happened in this country, every single solitary thing, from job losses, shedding jobs. I mean, we had like a Great Depression. It's just we weren't talking to each other. We couldn't see each other. We were, under... but it was unbelievable. All because he freaked out. He mismanaged. He froze in the face of an emergency. And now all he wants to do is retribution. And I still can't get over the idea that something about Kamala Harris's candidacy or something about me or something about, Democrats or progressives even is radical. What? What is it, I asked? What is it? What's radical? We should be able to read a book? Any book? Well, not any book. Some books. What? That's radical. Jim, you're going to pick my books? Holy crap. That cannot happen. Oh, my God, that cannot happen. But, I mean, honestly, so you got immigrants now shaking in their shoes who are here legally and working very hard, paying their mortgages, sending their kids to school, doing the right thing when no one's looking, and you want to deport them. You want to deport them. Why? You don't know, do you, Jim? You don't. Because there is no reason. There is no reason. If he would just stick to criminals, fine. But remember, Kash Patel wants to shut down the FBI. The law and order people want to defund the police. Holy crap. Oh, my God. It was you all along. It was you. LaDonna in Arizona.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
I wanted to say a couple things about what Jim was saying. During COVID, gas fell down to $30 a barrel at one point. And then when that's why gas was so cheap, because nobody was driving.
And nobody was flying. No one was doing anything.
Right. And then when President Biden took office, gas did go up to $5 a gallon because OPEC cut production. And then, President Biden, he opened up the National Reserve. Remember the oil?
Oh,
and
he made a fortune for this country, Joe Biden did.
Yeah, and he flooded the market with oil. They said he broke OPEC. And that's when gas prices started to come down. And now they're down to where they were, they're down. They're 3-something. They're almost under 3 here where I live in Arizona.
Today, I think the Gas Buddy was reporting that we had the lowest gas prices in 3 years, okay?
Well, Trump's going to take credit for all of it.
I know he is, but that's ridiculous. That's crazy. I mean, listen, the people that don't know the story about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, Jim, yeah, let me just review this one for you, honey. Okay, you're going to really like this. Great story. This is like better than Hansel and Gretel, which, was kind of cool. Because, it had to do with eating children. And, Republicans love that story. So, okay, here's a real radical one for you. So Joe Biden saw that we had a strategic petroleum reserve, big tank full of multiple millions of gallons of gas, Olean. And he decided that when things were really, really low, he would, first of all, he emptied the Strategic Petroleum Reserve when gas prices were really, really high. And he put it all on the market for sale. And pretty much, I won't say emptied it. That's an exaggeration. That's kind of a radical statement. I'll give you that one. But, and of course, you were going to call me out on it, right? Because you know this story. And then when the gas prices were really super low, Joe Biden bought all the gasoline and filled back up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So he sold it high and he bought it low, which is kind of what you want to do if you're a businessman, Jim. See, and your guy claims to be one, but he doesn't do that. He didn't do it. He won't do it. He didn't know to do it, and he couldn't figure out to do it. But Joe Biden did. So when gas prices were really high, he sold it on the open market. He made us multiple millions of dollars by doing that. Do you know that, too? Yeah. Robin Mesa.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Yeah, I think a lot of Trump voters voted for him basically because they thought he's going to make them richer. But the one thing they missed is the small print, because in order for you to become richer under Trump, you already have to be rich.
Yes.
They don't realize that.
Yeah.
But anyways, the thing
it's
about
always
people
something. It's always something with these radical Republicans. It's always something.
Yeah, so it's just another con job.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about big oil is I was trying to find some, like, what's the world capacity of oil versus, what we actually pump at, or they actually pump at. And what that other guy just failed to realize is they control the spigot. They control how much gets pumped, how much doesn't get pumped. I remember
when you say
Biden,
when you say they, you mean oil companies.
Oh, yes, OPEC, big oil, yes,
Right.
OPEC and those guys. So they control their own supply. And Saudi Arabia, basically said, I remember months ago, saying, hey, we're going to cut off the supply because we want the price to go up. And so they control it. And I remember Biden, he had the lease, the guys, oil companies have all these leases to pump or start drilling.
9,000.
And they're not using them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Biden actually threatened them. He said, well, if you don't use them, you're going to lose them.
That's
basically
right.
trying to get them to try and start pumping.
I actually have
And so
that
people
clip.
just-
That's so funny because I thought of that too, and I pulled that clip from my archives. I have it. I will play it. Yes, there were 9,000. 9,000.
Yeah, and people just don't realize that, the presidency doesn't have that much control.
Yeah.
It's just all the oil companies.
Yes.
Price fixing.
That's right. And so we're talking about the leases, unused, federal.
Connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Don't give up. Don't give up. They want us to give up. They want us to be afraid. They want us to give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. See, this is the whole thing. This is why they talk the way they talk. This is why they, think they're rattling our cages. Think that they're making us fear them. They will fear me. No, we will not. You are a orange man. You are a weak man, a small man. And the people he is picking are so incompetent that you could probably count on the incompetency alone to beat back any hopes and dreams he has of fixing whatever you might want fixed. It's not going to happen because they're not going in there to fix. They're going in there to break. And breaking is easy. Rebuilding is hard, and it's always up to us to do it, and that's why you can't give up. We are going to be needed to keep the amount of damage down to the lowest possible level of damage that we can, hence the letter from Warren and Blumenthal going, please let us be able to overturn the Insurrection Act or martial law if he declares it. Give us the tools we need to ride shotgun over there. I mean, we're co-equal branches of government, for Pete's sake. Make it so that we can keep the military from attacking Americans. That kind of thing. Also, I'm talking about pardons for people who actually need them now, preemptive pardons for the Liz Cheneys of the world, for the people who testified against him at, various impeachment hearings, for Adam Schiff, who did, it's midnight in America. Remember that? It was just chilling. They need protection. They need amnesty. They need, pardons. And by the way, what would really be beautiful, what would really be warranted, what would really be called for here is on the last day, and it may not even have to, I don't want to wait till the last day, do you? I don't. But now, because people are terrified in this country, I would love to see amnesty. I would love to see amnesty given to people who have worked here under temporary protected status and never broke the law, never did anything untoward, didn't even cross the street, until the light said, walk. No jaywalking, no double parking, no parking by a fire hydrant, ever, Christina. I would like to see amnesty for people who came here as children. I would like to see him do amnesty for the DACA recipients. I would like to see a lot of things happen before Biden leaves to help Trump-proof this country from the madness that he intends to bestow upon all of our heads. Now, if you're down with this plan, then we have to actually not give up and pay attention and not cower and not be afraid. Courage. Courage. That's what we need. And you'll get it here every single day at Free Speech TV. So donate now, won't you please? And keep us going and on the air and able to beat back whatever, comes our way. And it's going to come. It's going to come our way. So 877-378-8669. That is the number that will get you a very live, very wonderful, very kind person in Denver, Colorado, which is where Free Speech TV is based. You can go to freespeech.org online and do it this way, or you can text to 44321 the letters FSTV And you will, in exchange, get a very secure little link that you can click on and donate securely and safely that way. You could do recurring if you wanted, and you could turn it off if you decide not to recur after you do choose to do it monthly. If you say, well, this month I don't want it, you can do it right there and turn it off as well. So please do give, and thank you very much. And we are all in this together. There is just no separation anymore. Everybody's going, well, we're so divided. Not anymore. Not anymore. We're not divided. And you know how I know this? Because we either all rise on the rising waters, or we will all sink under the tidal wave of trash that's coming our way. And either we equip ourselves with information, which, as you know, is the coin of the realm, which is why Jim sounded so stupid. He doesn't know any of this stuff, which is another reason why we need to be here. It's another reason. I mean, anyway, so I threatened to play for Robin Mesa and Jim in Michigan. This thing where Biden said, hey, listen, oil companies, refine more, increase the supply now. The COVID is over. People are moving. People are flying. People are traveling. People are in their cars. And the price is too damn high at the pump, and you control it. You oil industry executives, you have richly profited. You've made more than you've ever made in your entire lives as oil executives this year. And it's time to do the right thing. And they wouldn't do it. So he got on the TV and he said, you have all these federal oil leases on federal land. I would love to see you use them. Drill, baby, drill, he said. I would love to see you use them. And if you don't use them, you're going to lose them.
Right now, oil and gas industry is sitting on nearly 9,000 unused but approved permits for production on federal lands. Or more than 1 million unused acres they have a right to pump on. Families can't afford that companies sit on their hands. So, to help execute this first part of my plan, I'm calling for a use it or lose it policy. Congress should make companies pay fees on wells on federal leases they haven't used in years, and acres of public land they're hoarding without production. Companies that are already producing from these wells won't be affected. But those sitting on unused leases and idle wells will either have to start producing or pay the price for their inaction.
Where were you? Where were you when all this was going on? Where were you with the Strategic, Petroleum Reserve? Where were you when he called on the oil companies to pass the savings onto, us? Because they were doing stock buybacks instead of passing on the lower costs to us. I mean, Exxon made more money than God, he said. Dude, I don't know where everybody was when this was going on. I'm not really sure. We were just, We're
going to make sure that everybody knows Exxon's profits. Why don't you tell them what Exxon's profits were this quarter? Exxon made more money than God this year. And by the way, nothing's changed. And they're not, by the way, one thing I want to say about the oil companies. They talk about how they have 9,000 permits to drill. They're not drilling. Why aren't they drilling? Because they make more money not producing more oil. The price goes up, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, the reason they're not drilling is they're buying back their own stock, which should be taxed, quite frankly, buying back their own stock and making no new investments. So I always thought Republicans are for investment. Exxon, start investing, start paying your taxes. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah. I don't know why people don't know that. I mean, I guess because all they were doing was making fun of his age instead of listening to the ways that he was able to bring the price of gasoline down after the pandemic was over. And then finally just selling all the strategic petroleum reserve, just selling it at very high prices and flooding the market and breaking the back of OPEC. And then refilling it when gas was $3 a gallon, $2 a gallon. Yeah, smart.
Clear for the This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide in a half a world away. To help deal with this Putin price hike, I've authorized the release of 1 million barrels per day for the next 6 months from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Oh my God. This is by far the largest release of our national reserve in history. It's a wartime bridge to increase oil supply as we work with U.S. oil producers to ramp up their production this year.
Yes, and that's why we started, releasing 1 million barrels a day, every single day after Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, because Russia and Vladimir Putin have a lot of oil, and the price went up. And so we sold it very, very high and then refilled very, very low. And he made so much money for the taxpayer, for you, for me. And for this, he gets ridiculed by you, Jim. For this, he gets disdained. For this, he gets criticized in a bad way by you. Why is that? What bubble are you living in? Because this out here, this is the real world. This out here, this is a world that has policies where you can pick and choose the policy when you're president. And you can either make things better for people or worse for people. But you know what's about to happen to you and me? God knows I don't deserve it. And my audience doesn't deserve it. And people that, listen every single day and pay attention don't deserve it. But let me tell you what's going to, I don't even want to tell you. I don't even want to tell you. But I'll let Chris Murphy tell you what's about to happen to this country. With this, it's the old F around and find out. This is the find out part. You effed around, Jim. And now you're about to find out.
What worries me about this cabinet is that it is essentially putting the billionaire class in charge of American government.
Yes.
The net worth of Donald Trump's nominees is greater than 169 countries. The folks that are being nominated to run the Department of Commerce, Treasury, Education, they don't understand what regular people are going through. All they see government as good for is enriching themselves and their billionaire friends. And so that is what the story of this cabinet is Donald Trump and the billionaire class taking over government to enrich themselves and screw everybody else in this country.
Exactly. And, the chum, if you will, if you must, if you may. My dad was a shark fisherman, also bluefish. Montauk Point, look it up. And so we used to chum. We used to throw, bloody parts into the ocean to attract the sharks, to attract them. You know what the chum is here? You know what the bloody parts are here? It's the Hedgeseths, it's the Tulsies, it's the Gates, whatever. I don't even owe him saying his name properly because he's such a freak of nature and a sex pest who pays for it by Venmo. Good God, how stupid do you have to be? And this was going to be our Secretary of Defense? Really? And you know what that is? That's chum. That's chum. So that you look over there, and then over here in Treasury, and over here in Commerce, and over here in, labor, and over here in education, there go the billionaires, all being, and they seem so normal next to, Pete Hedgeseth. They seem so normal next to Kash Patel, who literally is showing you what he's about. He puts a $sign through the S in his own freaking name, and he sells Trump merch. Wait a minute. I thought the Department of Justice was supposed to be so nonpartisan that you couldn't even vote. This guy sells Trump merch and has a $sign through the S of his name. And you're going to put him in charge of Justice's blind land? Oh, my God. I don't know. I don't know why you think you're going to get a good result out of any of this. I just don't know. My job, though, is to prepare us. And one of the things that we need to do is lay the groundwork for people not getting mass deported, not seeing AI deployed against our neighbors, not seeing robo-dogs, going through workplaces, not seeing, facial recognition technology being deployed against Americans, against people who are green card holders, against DACA recipients, against people here on, protected status. No, I don't want to see it. And so the only way around it is amnesty. It is it. That is the only way. If you don't have a record, if you're not indicted, if you've never ever been part of a gang, or you've never and you are just simply a DACA recipient, and you are simply an immigrant, you are simply working, you have a job, you go to church. I don't even care if you go to church, but I'm just saying most of them do. Most do. That's the immigrant class that you're so hateful about. Amnesty, baby. That's the only way. It's the only way to stop this mass deportation from happening is amnesty. And it's got to be big. And it's got to be Reagan-like. It's got to be huge. It will end this. It will end the revenge tour that he seeks to be on. He wants to go on the I am your retribution. I honestly, I just pardon everyone who is in harm's way from Kash Patel's long arm of the. He's got tiny little arms, but it's a tiny little arm of the law. And then give amnesty to people who have been law-abiding immigrants working and building families, especially mixed families where the children are American citizens and maybe one of the parents isn't, but the other one is. Just end it, because you got crazy people. You got this Tom Homan dude. We're going to launch some of the mass deportations that this country has ever seen. Who died and made him, immigration, ICE king? Jesus, what has he ever done to nothing? And Hedgeseth, I mean, honestly, these people have issues, big ones, and that's why he picked them. He picked them to distract from the billionaire class that's going to be confirmed without any heavy lift. And they are going to, the things that we have that protect us from let's say antitrust laws that we have, right? That keep monopolies from being monopolies in this country, or we think they do. We think that it does. No more trust busting. In fact, unions, let me tell you something. When you look, and this is where we started the show today, and this is what I wanted to talk about more than anything else, Jim, was that in South Korea, there was there's a crazy Trump-like president with a 17% approval rating after just 1 year in office. And there's a Democratic, for lack of a better term, opposition party that has the majority in the assembly, the Congress, okay? And they were like, this Trump-like guy declared martial law today in South Korea, a democracy, declared martial law today and banned the media from operating, said no demonstrations, no protests, no nothing. Everything is, military is deployed and the only ones that actually knew anything about it, obviously, were the military, because they showed up like that. They were on the street. They were in the air. You had your helicopters. You had drones. You had tanks. And you had military personnel deployed all over Seoul, South Korea today. But their Congress was able to act and shut it all the freak down. Shut it down. Said, this is a coup and we will not have it. We will not have it here. We need to give our Congress the authority to do that. And learn from that. And understand that's what's coming, and lay the groundwork so that it can't happen. Make it moot. Make it unworkable, undoable. Because it ain't unknowable. So the next pardons will matter much, much more than poor Hunter Biden's pardon. And, Biden lied. Biden lied. Don't you dare. Don't you dare pretend that you have the high ground when it comes to truth-telling. On the radical right, are you insane? There is nothing he didn't lie about. There is nothing at all, ever, from COVID and pandemics and vaccines that could protect you, from masking that could literally, nobody got the flu for like 2 years in this country. Please. I get so incensed when I can't even have a decent conversation about what's to come because somebody has been propagandized so forcefully and so repetitively and so insistently by watching garbage, fake stuff, fraudulent stuff, horrible stuff, that if there's a story about Biden making a profit by selling and breaking OPEC, by selling the United States Strategic Petroleum Reserve 1 million barrels a day, they just don't cover it. That's why he doesn't know about it. They just pretended it wasn't happening, never covered it, and he's none the wiser. Except when he was paying $5 a gallon.